Hello and welcome back to the channel, all my Milan fans and just in general Serie A fans. As I have been seeming to say lately, it has been quite a while, but I'm back here with some updates and some thoughts as we are about to close out the Mercato. There's only a few short weeks left, actually I believe just over a week here remaining in the Mercato, so it is definitely going to be fast and furious coming through here, and only the very final touches are going to be made on here, but we will see what is going to come down the pipeline. We've also played our very first official game, got to see some of the new signings in action, so we do have some things to talk about. In general, I'm going to go over some of the transfers in and out, what we have already done, both on the buying side and the selling side, as well as some of the loans. Then I'm going to go over the current match that we just played versus Sampdoria, just a little bit briefly. Give you my general thoughts here. I'm not going to do a full player ratings for this match, but I'll give you kind of a little bit of the lowdown and how a lot of the new players did. And then lastly, I'm going to go back to the Mercato because now we have the information of the players that we've signed, how they're performing, how Pioli is lining up, and then go back and say, all right, how should we close out these last little week or so of the market to try to maximize what we can do here and get the most out of this season for AC Milan. So I'm going to start here first with the in general transfer mercato with our in. So we start here with a couple of the signings that we already knew were going to happen. We have signed Sandro Tonali for a remarkable deal. I don't know how Maldini did it. He looks like he went back to the table, got a ton of money off from Brescia. It was probably just because Brescia was strapped for cash. They got relegated. All that kind of played into the effect there, but we got Tonali for somewhere around 10 million less than we were going to be getting him initially, so massive deal. I still think that this guy is going to be probably one of the signings of the next 10 years, to be honest with you. He has all of the tools of a lot of the midfielders that we've seen become very good. For example, in my opinion, he is a better Locatelli on every level besides calmness, but that will come with time and experience. I think that maybe Locatelli has a better shot. It's probably the only other thing. So Locatelli can definitely bang in some goals. You're probably not going to get that from Tonali, but he's faster than Locatelli. He's stronger than Locatelli. He's a better athlete than Locatelli. He's more defensively stout than Locatelli. He delivers a better dead ball as well than him. So I really don't see where this is going to be less than him. It's just going to be Locatelli developed a lot faster, and now this is going to be Tonali's time. But the main thing is we have to give him time, because once he got his rhythm last season, Pioli pulled him and started playing Mete, which in my opinion was a terrible choice, as we were not benefiting from Mete, nor were we winning games, and it really stunted Tonali's growth right as he was hitting a hot streak. So hopefully we don't do that. Then Fikayo Tomori, fantastic signing. I think it's a very cool thing to have a Englishman here, especially one like Tomori, who is so willing to kind of get into the Italian culture and get into the Milan culture and buy in so fast. Plus, he is a perfect complement for both Simone Kjaer and Romagnoli. In my opinion, I believe that Kjaer is going to be doing quite well this season, but I have a feeling that Romagnoli may win back his starting spot over Simone Kjaer at some point. And I love the combination of both English and Italian center backs. It's kind of cool having that at our core if that does become a thing, because that is a massive part of Milan history. I think Kjaer is going to be the starter for right now, but I particularly like Tomori and Romagnoli because you have a left-footed player, right-footed player, puts them kind of in their hub positions, as well as we'll talk about later, a possible three-man back line with all three of them playing. So great signing there, both for Tonali and Tomori. Next, Mike Maignan, incredibly smart signing in my opinion. Losing Donnarumma, there is still no excuse. I don't care what anybody says. I get it that he's gone and people are very bitter, and so am I, but at the same point, you can't really justify it and say, well, he was going to be very expensive. That's fine. I don't care how expensive his salary was going to be. He's worth 60 million or so as a keeper. He's one of the top 5 keepers in the world. He is the best keeper for his age by far. He's literally a world-class goalkeeper who just won the Euro Cup, and we let him go for free because we didn't want to give him a couple more million on his contract, which he's going to get anyways at some point. So we should have done that, and then if we wanted to sell him, just sell him off for 50 million. If you can't get 60 or 45, you're still going to bank a ton of money, and letting him go for free was an absolute crime. But if we're going to replace him, replacing him with Mike Maignan is perfect. He is an excellent goalkeeper entering his prime. He is more athletic than Gigio. He doesn't necessarily have the same aerial presence as Gigio does, but he is very athletic and agile, and his distribution is far better. So overall, while they're probably about the same level keeper, they just have different strengths. We're not going to miss Donnarumma very much. We'll miss the money that we didn't get from him, but we won't miss the quality because Maignan is excellent. Brahim Diaz, we are refreshing his loan, but this time 2 years, which I think is a great idea. We're going to do it with an option to buy for I think a pretty reasonable price, somewhere I believe between 20 and 25 million. The only issue is Madrid has a buyback for only a few million more than that. I think it's like maybe 28. So this isn't a great deal for us. It's very smart because we essentially have a moderate salary for Brahim for 2 years, and we might be able to get him outright. But if Madrid wants him back and he's playing excellent top of the line, you know he's going back. It's always been his dream to play for Madrid. He's going to go back if that happens. So this is a good and bad deal. Olivier Giroud, fantastic deal. We had to pay a little bit for him just because Chelsea didn't want to lose him for absolute free. But this is actually perfect because Giroud, while he is in his mid-30s, he is a much more healthy player than Zlatan. He's not very injury prone at all. And it's nice to have a world-class center forward / striker to actually play, most games that Zlatan is going to be injured, because let's be honest, Zlatan's knee breaking down is not a good sign. He's not going to be, I know everybody says he's going to be back for most of the season. I highly doubt it. I think Ibra is going to play 25 to 50% of the season maximum, and so Giroud is probably going to be our main striker. I do think we need a third striker, and we will get to that. Next, we have just signed Florenzi. It is a loan with option to buy. I think this is a perfect signing. It is actually an experienced backup for Davide Calabria rather than Conti, who I don't think is a very good player. So this is excellent. And I don't think he's just going to be the backup for Calabria. I think he's actually going to get most of his minutes up at right wing, because I have really not been too big on Salamakers. I think he's good. I think he's got a lot of potential, but he's just not there, not quite there. That's definitely a spot we need to upgrade, and Florenzi can give us something a little bit different there. He's way better at delivering a cross. He has more of an eye for a goal, a far better shot, but maybe he doesn't have the same work rate. He still works hard, but maybe he doesn't have the same work rate and grit as Salamakers has. So gives us a little bit something different. I still think we actually need a top-class player for that right wing if we're going to stick with this formation. Once again, we will get into that later. Lastly, we have also signed Balotore. This was a very cheap deal, I believe somewhere around $4 million. I think he's going to be average. I personally would not have gone with Balotore. I think that there were other options for us, specifically Petzela, who I think can deliver a much better ball. But I think that they just wanted to go with speed rather than quality, crossing, etc. So I don't get it. I would have much rather signed Petzela from Parma, but everybody knows that Elliot likes to get the little tax cut you get from signing a foreign non-Italian player. So there you go. We something that I've always talked about is the lack of signing Italian players when you can sign a person of equal quality. If you're gonna go sign a foreign player, in my opinion, and they're world class, go sign them. Who cares where they're from? Just sign the best guy you can, right? But when you're signing a player like a Balotore and you have Petzela, who is same country, Italian, who is probably actually a better player for the same price, you should probably go with the Italian. That's one of my main problems with Milan, and we just do it because Elliot gets that little foreign tax break off of there, so they try to penny pinch, and that's the Elliot way. As you can probably tell, and I dislike Elliot a lot, but hey, that's just my opinion. All right, let's move on here. That's our transfer mercato in. Now let's go over to our out. All right, so we've kind of talked about part of this as Donnarumma left for free. You know my thoughts on that. Awful move. Next, we have Çalhanoğlu, who also left for free, valued probably somewhere around 20 million, so we missed out on a ton of that. Similar to Donnarumma, if you're going to lose him, at least re-sign him for a decent salary, sell him off for below his value, even at 15 mil. You don't even have to get the full 20-25, and you still make a good chunk of money off him. So there you go, and he is a total turd, unlike Gigio, who I think is still quite a turd for not giving us any money after we basically made him. But Çalhanoğlu's a completely turd because he decided to go to Inter. So I wish him nothing but failure. I don't even feel mean saying that. And that's it. I hope he has a terrible career. I don't wish him injuries, but I wish him a terrible, terrible career. All right, next we have Diego Laxalt, 3.5 million, transfer out. Not really going to get much value out of his transfer anyways. It is what it is. I actually think that it wasn't really necessary because it's just a straight swap with Ballatore. Essentially, we brought Ballatore in. We sold off Laxalt. I don't think this matters one bit. Maybe we have a little more faith in Ballatore. I personally don't care. Great. If you're not going to use him and you're going to sign Ballatore, might as well sell Laxalt. Done. Mattia Caldara. I think this was a bad idea on our part. He looked solid in the one game that we actually played him in. He would have been a very useful backup, and we are going to be loaning him to Venezia with a very cheap option to buy. I think this is an awful idea. The only reason we did it was to get his salary off the books. I believe he makes $2 million. Maybe he makes more, but I think this is a very, very poor idea. We are going to be in for a very long and grueling season, and if we end up going with a three-man back line, you have perfect coverage if you keep Caldara. You have Romagnoli at left center back. You've got Kyer at middle center back. You have Tomori at right center back. Then you have Caldara backing up. You have Gabbia backing up, and you have Kalulu backing up. That seems perfect to me. I don't get why we really needed his $2 million off the books, and we keep making terrible deals for him. We made a terrible deal with Atalanta, which put all the power in their hands to say, hey, if he turns out good, you're going to get a very, very good player for a cheap price, or if he turns out bad, send him back to Milan for free. No harm, no foul. This is a similar deal that we're giving to Venezia, just for a way cheaper deal than we gave Atalanta. Bad deal. Not a fan of it whatsoever. Next, Jens-Peter Hauge. I do not like the sale of Hauge, much like many Milanisti and many Milan fans. It's just not the right move for us. I would have personally rather have sold Rafael Leao to kind of get back that huge chunk of money that we paid for him, and I think that Hauge is going to grow more. And with how much we paid, the return on investment if we did want to sell him later would have been massive. We made about 8 to 9 off him initially based on what we paid, what we sold him for. And here's the thing: if he explodes and becomes a great player, we're set with our either winger or he could even be an attacking mid for years to come. If he even gets a little bit better but doesn't explode and we say, hey, he's not the guy for us, we can probably still soak more money out of it, 15, 16, 17, maybe 20 million out of it, whereas he went for 13 right now, and boom, you made a massive profit. So I think this was a bad choice to do it this soon, is what it is. Next, Colombo, loaned. I'm okay with him being loaned. This is a dry loan, so we're not selling him, which I think is a great choice. The issue I have is that we look to be bringing in Pietro Pellegrini. And while I don't mind Pellegrini, he's definitely not the striker that I would have chosen for us. There's two that I'll get into later that I think we should have 100% went for and still should go for even with Pellegrini. But what's the big difference between Colombo and Pellegrini, right? Pellegrini maybe was more proven when he was a few years younger, prior to all of his injuries, and so there's a ton of potential there for real. But it still just doesn't make very much sense to send out a similar player that you already own on loan and bring in another one unless you're just trying to turn a quick buck and say, hey, maybe Pellegrini rediscovers his form. He has some type of like a breakout few games where his value all of a sudden shoots back up. It doesn't make much sense from a kind of game perspective, but it does make much sense if you're going to go with just finances and possibilities, because it is a very low priced loan with option to buy. So I don't know. I mean, I know that it's all a business and that's basically all Elliot cares about, but I still really enjoy the passion of this game, and I do feel like certain moves like this, you kind of lose a lot of that passion. Pellegrini, it's fine. Hopefully he does well, because if he does, then I'm going to be looking back on this and saying, hey, I was wrong about this. This is an awesome move. But I personally would have wanted a different striker, and I will get to that. Next, we're going to go over some of the renewals here. Keep this very short. You got Romagnoli, Kessie, and Calabria. Calabria, done deal. He signed a very reasonable renewal. Excellent. Romagnoli and Kessie have still not signed. Romagnoli's is very attainable. I think all we have to do is offer him an extra $500K a year and he'll sign. So that's really a no-brainer. Guys, get this over the line, complete it. We don't want another Donnarumma situation. We don't want another Çalhanoğlu situation. Just sign him. Even if your intent is to sell him next year or however long, you got to re-sign him where they can walk for free. Same thing with Kessie. I don't care what you got to give him. If it's outrageous, sell him now. Just sell the guy. Kessie is a great player. I think he's probably, besides Ibra, our last season, our best player. And so that would be a massive loss, but it's an even bigger loss if you lose the guy for free and get nothing for him. So we cannot have a repeat. You're either going to pay him what he wants or close to it and come to an agreement, or you got to sell him right now. So got to make that call. You cannot go into this season without the renewal, and I just fear that once again, Maldini and Massara are going to shit the bed, so to speak, and fail on these renewals like they failed with Hakan and with Gigio last year, and that's going to be a lot of money lost. If you think about it, you put the values of Romagnoli, Kessie, Gigio, and Hakan together, what their actual values should be. You're looking at 60 for Donnarumma, 20 for Çalhanoğlu, 80, maybe 30 for Romagnoli, maybe less based on how he's playing, maybe somewhere between 20 and 30. Let's go on the low end and say 20. So now you're looking at 100, and Kessie 40 to 50. Let's go 50 because he's been playing great and it kind of balances out the low end of the spectrum that I went on Romagnoli. So now you're looking at 150 million lost between those four players. That's ridiculous. That's basically Milan's whole budget multiplied by like 5. I just don't get how we can let this happen. So definitely can't happen. Got to get their renewals done ASAP. Players likely coming in, I've already talked about Pellegrini. The next one that's pretty dang likely to come in is Bakayoko. I think it's a very good signing, especially if Kessie is possibly leaving. Then this makes it a really good signing. I don't think it's necessary if Kessie is staying and we're only running a 2-man mid. I feel like Pobega has already done a great job in the preseason as I've watched each game. The fact that some people say he can't play in a 2-man mid is total BS. He's already learned most of it, and he has not too far to go in my opinion, and he just got into the system. So, I mean, he's a young kid. If you know anything about sports at all, or if you've played him at all and you're a decent athlete, you can make a lot of things work and you can change your position. It does not take that long of time. And Pobega's already close. You can see this kid's very, very driven. He wants to be here. That's exactly the type of player who deserves to be rewarded, especially because he's been playing well and stepping up. So I don't buy the whole 2-man midfield he doesn't fit into. I think that is a opinion of most people who just don't play sports, and I don't like it. So I personally would keep him for that role no matter what, but we're probably going to loan him, so I think that we have to bring in Bakayoko here. Additionally, why I also would not loan Pobega is because if we move to a 3-man midfield, then go ahead, buy Bakayoko. You can even buy Bakayoko and Adli, and you've got plenty of coverage now. So we'll see what happens, but I think that we're definitely getting Pellegrini, that's for sure. And then we're probably getting Bakayoko. I think that's the next most likely. And then I think we'll maybe make one more signing after that. Hopefully it's a bigger one that will make a difference in attack. So let's get a little bit into the game that we just played against Sampdoria. Kind of just going to go over the general gist and highlight some players and go from there. Okay, we ended up pulling off a 1-0 win against Sampdoria. I think there was an excellent performance because sometimes I actually like grinding it out. It just proves that we can do it, and that's a very, very tough thing to do in Serie A and very, very important in my opinion. Defense was very solid. Then again, they were not challenged very much. When they were, though, they did stand up to the task. I thought Mike Maignan was absolutely excellent. He was a little shaky in the beginning. One of his problems actually may be overconfidence. He thinks he can do a lot of things, and he can, but if he fails once, that's an easy goal. But truthfully, he is very athletic. His delivery is definitely better than Donnarumma's. He doesn't have as much control over his box on just regular kind of high jump balls because I just don't think he's as good on the aerials as Donnarumma was. Then again, Donnarumma was massive, so that kind of changes the game a little bit. But I don't think we're going to be losing a lot at all. Mike Maignan looked fantastic. I'm very, very happy having him here because I don't have to worry about the goalkeeper position again, you know. So fantastic job by Maldini and Massara to bring him in. Great, great choice. Teo, a little bit of a letdown today. Didn't really have his game. He wasn't good defensively. He wasn't good offensively. So really a bummer of a game from Teo. We can move forward from that. Center backs, as I said, very, very solid, strong pairing. They weren't really tested much today, but when they were, they did well. Right back, Calabria was fantastic. He is, in my opinion, the best right back in Serie A. He was last year, and he's going to be again this year. Loved him as captain. I didn't know that he could command the field like that, but he did a fantastic job, and he is definitely captain material, so that was great to see. Moving into midfield, Krunic was actually relatively solid. He didn't do anything great, missed a couple of chances, but he didn't really make any mistakes, and you usually have some massive Krunic mistake that leads to at least a chance on goal. He didn't have any today, so I got to give it to him. He played solid. I wouldn't say he was very good, but he was solid. Tonali, I thought, played absolutely excellent. He had a couple wayward passes, yes, but he's still figuring those things out, and when he does get his passes on, he is our best passer on the team. Benacer is the best short passer on the team. He delivers a lot of quick balls, and he has decent vision, but he doesn't strike the ball the same way that Tonali does. Tonali is a true passer. Benacer gets it done, but Tonali is actually creative. You can see his mind working and ticking. Like, he actually is a creative player, and he delivers excellent balls. He just knows how to strike it the right way with the right angle, the right velocity, and catch the ball at the right direction, which only a true passer can do. So I really liked how he was able to get out of tight spaces this time. His confidence was way up, and his defensive abilities were excellent. That's something that he's always been very, very good at. Even last season when he was a little less confident, his defense was still excellent. So I feel very confident that he is going to be a player to watch this season. I am excited to see him grow because he has been one of my favorites since I saw him starting off even in Serie B with Brescia. He really can be a top-class, world-class player, and I feel that if we don't ruin his growth potential, which we sometimes do, he is going to be a future national team player very, very soon. So, and I can't wait to see an Italy midfield with both Tonali and Barella, which I love both those players a lot, so that'd be cool. Let's see here who else was out there. We've got Salamakers, very, very disappointing in my opinion. I hugely think we need an upgrade here. He works hard, that's great, but his quality is so minimal. He might get there, but he's a bad shooter of the ball. His crossing is average. He does work hard. He is very viable, and I think that he is the type of player who I'd like to see subbing onto the game, or he can start some games where we need more grit, but I don't think he should be the starter going into the next season. Brahim Diaz was a little bit hot or cold, but when he was on, he was excellent. Plus, he got the goal, so I think that Diaz, if he can become more consistent, he can be a fantastic attacking mid. I don't know if he's Champions level attacking mid yet, of course, but this guy's got a ton of potential, and I do see the ability there that we need. He's more direct than Hakan, and I really like that, and it just is so refreshing to not even see Hakan on the field. As anybody who watches my channel knows, I was never a big Hakan fan. In my opinion, he flatters to deceive. That is a classic thing I use a lot. He's about as average can get, and he will have some knockout games, but Diaz, I think, is going to just grow and a straight upward potential, so I'm very excited to see what happens with him. Let's see here who else was out there on the left side. Rafa Leao, I actually thought he had a pretty good game. I'm so glad they moved him back to left wing. He's not a striker. I'm so happy that I'm playing there anymore. Pioli's finally learning. You got to either play him out on left wing, or you have to play him in tandem as a center forward or a second striker next to a real striker. That's it. That's all Rafael Leao can do, and that's fine. If you're not going to play him like that and you're going to put him up as striker, you're going to lose the game. He sucks there. Same thing with him, though. He lost energy midway throughout the game, but he started off very, very bright, had some good abilities, good opportunities. He just fades, and he still fades. So I hope that he can build off of this positive performance, and if he can, we have a potential world-class player there. But we'll see. Is he going to suffer from the Balotelli syndrome where he just doesn't work hard? I don't know. Time is yet to tell. Giroud worked very hard today, gotten the great spaces that he should have. He should have buried, I believe, or done better with some of the chances today, but he at least did a very good job at holding up the line and doing striker things, which I know sounds silly, but it's actually very important because that's what we missed last year. When Ibra was out, we didn't have a striker who would occupy defenders, make certain runs, create space for the attackers behind him because he's occupying defenders, take up proper position, hold up the play. Giroud does all that. And that's why we don't really miss Ibra that much when Giroud's in. Yeah, it's still Ibra, and of course we missed something, but I think this is an amazing signing, and he's just more hardy and fit than Ibrahimovic is anyways, so we're going to be leaning on him heavily if we don't make another striker acquisition. So overall, very, very solid game. Was nice to see. When our subs came on, I felt pretty strongly about that we weren't going to lose much when they came on. We had Florenzi come on, which was excellent. We had Rebic come on. I mean, it was just nice to bring on good players, and that felt very, very good. It's a shame we didn't see Pobega. It's a shame we didn't see Daniel Maldini. I think they should have a role to play in this squad, but Pioli is such a safe coach that he's just never going to give guys the proper amount of chances, and he will kill youth's growth. I guarantee it. He's going to kill every youth player's growth unless they leave. So I worry for Tonali that once he starts playing great, he's going to start benching him for somebody random that they just brought in. And I worry also for guys like Pobega and Maldini that there's never going to get real chances in important games. So we'll see. But the last person to discuss is actually Pioli, and I was impressed today. Yes, I was bummed not to see a couple of those good subs, but he made decent subs overall. He made them on time. He actually changed formation. It's like the guy's growing up. This fully grown man is finally starting to grow up before our eyes. So he's starting to do things that like 90% of the fans have wanted him to do since years ago, or at least a year ago. And I like this because he might actually be able to win some games tactically now. He switched formation a few times because it actually fit the personnel. He's starting to learn what his people can do. It's crazy how it's taken him this long to learn what his players can do, but he's getting there, and for that it made me really, really happy because I have not seen that from him yet. So now we're going to kind of finish out with the Mercato and the last players that we should be looking at and some ways that we should line up. So how should we close out this Mercato? It's basically going to come down to some striking options, some attacking midfield and winger options, and maybe a midfield option. So links that we've been having with strikers are Belotti, Vlahovic, Daniel Malin, Nunez, Scamacca, Raspadori. That's been throughout most of the time here, among others. Really, though, it's kind of down to, I think we're done and we're just going to stick with Pellegrini. But there's two names on here, Belotti and Scamacca, who I really would like us to kind of keep on our radar right now and sign one of them because it is a fantastic sign or a fantastic time to sign one of those guys. Wingers, we're going to be looking, or we have been looking at players such as Riccardo Orsolini, Junior Macias recently, Vlasic, he's attacking mid, Kvaratskhelia attacking mid, Ziyech can play both, Zaccagni can play both, and Berardi right wing. So midfielders, Pobega, I only bring him on here because we're considering loaning him, so it would be almost like a signing if we keep him. Bakayoko, Adli, Kamara, Svanberg, and Schouten. Bakayoko, as I was saying, is a pretty sure thing, but we may or may not get one more midfield player. We'll see. I don't think we actually need it, though. To be honest with you, if we just keep Pobega, we're all set. If we bring in Bakayoko and keep Pobega, we don't need anybody else. If we let go of Pobega or let him go on loan, we may want to consider bringing in Adli. But I would just keep as is and bring in Bakayoko on loan with option to buy. So that aside, what do we actually do? I think we still need one striker, and I think it is 100% the time to go with Belotti or Scamacca. There was a recent report just over the past day or so that Inter is now going to be trying to snap up Belotti, even though they are already relatively set in the striker department, and they're looking at $15 million as the final price. That is crazy for Andrea Belotti. You have to go and get him for that price. That is such a cut price deal. Guy's in his prime. He didn't have a great season last season because, truthfully, he needs to leave Torino. His growth has been stunted. He's got to go. It's time for him to reach a big team. He's a Milan fan since he's a kid. He's been trying to get here for years. We've wanted him for years. This is the time. I don't care if you brought in Pellegrini. Go get Belotti for that price. It's ridiculous. If you're not going to get Belotti, I would have really preferred if we would have bought the player that I would have wanted us to get the most, even more than Belotti, even more than any of the strikers that we've been linked with. Gianluca Scamacca. I think you can sign him right now on loan with option to buy. He is a very impactful player. He's got size, physique, technique, speed, a great shooting ability and power with both feet. He has all the tools. He hasn't put them together yet altogether, but he plays very similarly to Ibra. He's strong. He has good hold-up plays, good header of the ball. The thing that really gets me is that he actually is incredibly technical, very skilled, very slick, and he's a big guy. It's hard to find that type of athleticism and quality in a guy of that size, and that reminds me of Ibra. What a better way to bring somebody in and help them grow than to learn behind Giroud and Ibrahimovic. I mean, how could you ask for better teachers of the style that you play than coming to AC Milan with Ibrahimovic and Giroud? So Scamacca is my top choice. I know we won't do it because the loan may be expensive and the option would probably be relatively expensive, but I think it actually would be cheaper than we think because we're entering the last little bit of the market. Either way, though, one of those two is what we should do. I don't care if we have Pellegrini. He's just a third to fourth choice, and we probably should move to a two-striker formation. But Belotti, you cannot pass that up for $15 million. Please go sign the guy. Next up, Berardi would have been my ideal signing. I do not think Salamakers has what it's going to take to be a top-class right wing this season. You bring in Berardi, you now bring in a few things that we really, really need. One, you bring in a right wing threat who can actually deliver a great cross and is a true goal scoring threat. If you look at our front line, we have no real goal scoring threats besides our strikers. Yes, Diaz will pop in a couple, maybe Leao, maybe Rebic can do a decent job. So maybe he's our actual next goal threat out wide. And Salamakers, he's not putting in any goals, and definitely not Samu. So this gives us an actual goal scoring threat besides our strikers that the defense has to worry about. Secondly, it gives us a world-class player. It drastically upgrades our right wing. Third, it then gives us a free kick taker, which we now don't have without Çalhanoğlu. Yes, you've got Ibra, but he's not going to be in a lot of the games. And you have Tonali, but Tonali is more of a kind of passing free kick taker. I don't think he's the best shooting free kick taker. Maybe I'm wrong, but I love his passing free kicks. I think he's the best one on the team by far. But we need somebody who can actually take the shooting free kicks, and Berardi fits that perfectly. Next up, I think we should be going for Mattia Zaccagni. If we sign nobody else and we want a very versatile player who can fit all the roles, right wing, left wing, second striker if we play that way, or attacking mid, Mattia Zaccagni for around $10 million is the ultimate value and the best top choice for that role. He's already knocked in 2 goals in the first game, I believe, of the season here. He's hitting his prime. He's ready to go to a big team. He held out for Milan the entire offseason, and now we're thinking about paying, a similar price for other players when he literally fits the bill perfectly. So if we're not going to go out and sign a couple people, we really should just, and we're trying to keep it cheap, just go with Zaccagni. It's such an easy choice. Plus, he actually can take free kicks too. So, I mean, it really is an excellent choice for us. I'm surprised we haven't found or haven't kind of wanted to go for him recently, as the links were very, very strong early on, like so close that we were actually going to sign him. And now they've really cooled off, and we're picking these random players like Junior Macias. Why the hell are you going to sign Junior Macias when you can find Zaccagni, who's way more versatile, actually in his prime, has many years to grow, and is ready for a big team? It just doesn't make any sense to me, but what do you know? Most of these transfers have not. And lastly, keep Pobega. The guy's going to learn. He's going to grow. Plus, if you want to switch formations, especially to a 3-man mid, which I think we should do, he's going to be perfect for it. Okay. Remember, this is all assuming Bakayoko and Pellegrini are a given. So there are a couple ways to line up, which is how we're going to end it. And then that'll pretty much be it. We can line up in our classic 4-2-3-1. I've written it out here. You can kind of take a peek at that. You got Teo, Tomori, Kjaer, Calabria. Maybe Romagnoli might be able to play with Tomori if Kjaer can't make the whole season with injuries and whatnot and just playing a lot. Then you've got the double pivot, Kessie, Benacer, of course, but Tonali may be able to take one of their spots based on how they're playing. And if Kessie is leaving, you never know. Bakayoko will be brought in. Pobega should stay, in my opinion. Then you've got your left-sided wing, which could be a split if we do bring in Zaccagni, which we really should in this formation. Then you've got Rebic, Leao, or Zaccagni there, Diaz or Zaccagni at attacking mid, and then, of course, the marquee signing, what we should be doing if we stay with this formation, is Berardi. So, up top, you can split up between Ibra, Giroud, and Pellegrini. Especially if you're just running a one-striker formation, you're probably okay just sticking with what we've got right now. But I think this is, if we stay with this formation, we should be making 1 to 2 signings, and that really should 100% be Berardi. And if we had the extra budget, should be Zaccagni. Once again, if we want to keep it cheap, just Zaccagni. Okay, another formation that we are trying out, and I think is also very smart for us, is the 3-4-1-2, because it eliminates our weakest portion. That's our wingers. Our wingers are not very good. When you've got Salamakers and Castillejo on the right side, that's pretty average. It's not top class. And let's be honest, Rebic is probably better when you tuck him a little bit inside rather than putting him on the wing. So this would be the 3-4-1-2. You can actually play Romagnoli, Kyer, and Tomori, 3 top-class center backs. Then you have your classic double pivot. I'm not really going to discuss much of that. It puts Teo in a much better position for him at wingback, which I think he's going to be deadly. Calabria, he's going to do it all. He'll probably be a more defensive wingback, but he can still get up, as he actually does have a good couple goals in him per season and has a great cross. And then you still have that attacking mid spot, so it keeps Diaz or Zaccagni or whoever you're going to put there. Maybe Vlasic if we make a top-class signing, I don't know. And then it allows you to run 2 strikers. So this is when you really should be going after that 15 million Belotti, or you should be trying for Scamacca, because you can play these guys in tandem. The additional thing it opens up is it actually frees Rebic and Leao to play in a better position now and play off a true striker. So I think this is an excellent formation for us. We'll see if Pioli has the gumption and the creativity to do it, but I think this is excellent for us. Lastly, and probably the most stable formation that we can probably play, because it accomplishes a few things that I think we need, is the 4-3-1-2. It keeps the 4-man back line if Pioli doesn't want to get more creative and kind of shake things up too much. It highlights the positives of our team, which right now is actually midfield, as long as we don't sell anybody, get rid of Pobega, and it eliminates those wingers again, which I was just talking about. So in this one, you do the classic 4-man back line. Now you'd actually play Tonali as a starter. You bring in Bakayoko and keep Pobega, and so you actually have depth and quality there in midfield to back you up when you need it. And then you have that attacking mid spot, which keeps all that the same. Diaz, Zaccagni, Maldini can all play there. And you run a 2-striker formation, so you just got to make sure that you pick up one more of the strikers. That's it. So I think this is really an excellent formation for us. If you assume that Bakayoko is already coming, this formation works already. You could just sign Zaccagni and get away with this formation, or you could sign Zaccagni Belotti, Zaccagni Scamacca, and get away with it. Either way, you don't have to do much, and you don't have to break the bank on anybody who is way overpriced right now or we can't afford. So I think this is definitely probably the best formation for us to keep it more kind of safe and highlight our positives. But the 3-4-1-2 also looks excellent. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think about the kind of market so far, our ins, our outs? How do you think we've done? What do you think about the signings that I've suggested we continue with? Do you have any ideas for who we should make our last 1 or 2 signings of? And what do you think about the different formations? What do you think we should line up with, stay with, kind of switch to? And that's pretty much that. I'll probably try to do one more of these after the Mercato is completely over, give it a rating and let you know my thoughts, and go from there. Until then, guys, thank you for your time, of course, and Forza Milan.